All right, good morning again, guys. It's still January 11th. I'm trying to knock out a few videos this morning. So, want to come back and I want to talk about factoring trinomials. A lot of this should be reviewed for y'all because we've done this, several times. You know, ninth grade, we obviously, that's when you first learned it, but even this year, we did some extensive stuff with it. So, you should have an overall view of it. So, I'm just going to touch on a few of them and a few of the methods and go from there. So let's look at number 13 right here. By the way, this is still the homework page. I just turned it over to the back side. I always look for a GCF. I do not find one in these three terms, so that's off my checklist there, right? So I'm looking now. See the A value, which is the leading coefficient. The A value is equal to 1, so I can use what I dub as the X method. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply and give me 36. Both will add and give me a negative 12. So let's think, negative 12 adding and 36. That has to be, both of them would have to be negative 6. They multiply and give me 36. They add and give me negative 12. So I make my two binomials here, and the last terms is both negative 6. Now the x to the fourth, I'm going to write x squared. So now noticing how both of these have a minus sign and an even degree right here, I need to make sure I take that extra step like I did with the difference of squares. Can I take the square root of x squared? I could, yes. Can I take the square root of 6? No, not and get a perfect square. So I'm actually done here. There's nothing more for me to really do with it. It's just, it's factored. Now, if you'll notice, both of them are the same thing. I can actually write it. Just like that right there. That's also acceptable. Because it's 2 and multiplied. It's the same thing multiplying to itself twice. That's why I have it squared there. So if you wrote it this way or this way, we're saying the same thing. All right, let's move on over here. Let's look at number 14. Same questions I'm asking. GCF, no GCF. So I go ahead and say, all right, so the A value is equal to 1, negative 32, and negative 14. All right, so multiplies give me negative 32. That's something right out of the gate. I know it's going to be one's a negative, one's a positive, right? So list all my factors of 32. So if you have trouble thinking about your facts in your head, list them out right here. So 1 and 32, 2 and 16, see 3 and 39, 4, 30, so we got 4 and 8, it's 32, 5 don't have nothing, 6, 7, 8, that looks to be about it, right? So they multiplies to give me a negative 32, adds to give me negative 14. That tells me my bigger number is going to be negative, and the other one will be positive. So 1 minus 32, that is definitely not giving me negative 14. 2 minus 16, voila, there's my negative 14 right there. So I'm going to say, all right, over here, w squared plus 2, w squared minus 16. So remember, the reason the w squared is because of the w to the fourth there. All right. So now I'm looking at these two. You always you gravitate your attention every time you see a minus sign in the binomial, even degree. You start going, something seems a little fishy. And in this one, you would be right in saying so. So if I take the square root of w squared, that's w, right? Well, square root of 16. Square root of 16 is 4. So this actually can break down a little bit. So I can break that down to look like this right here. W plus 4 and w minus 4. That's a difference of squares type problem. This w squared plus 2, remember it's got that plus sign. Nothing we can do with that right now. I'll just bring it down right there. Now it's completely factored. Okay, let's move on down. Let's look at number 20. brought number 20 up because of the bottoms up method I showed you. Want to hit on that again. So 8, 10, 3. Do I have a GCF? Answer to that would be no. So remember, I'm taking the 8, multiplying it to the negative 3. Oops. That's going to give me a negative 24. So c to the 4th plus 10 c squared minus 24. All right, so numbers that multiply give me negative 24, but add and give me 10. So let's see. 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. That looks to be about it. So the fact that it's going to be a negative 24, that tells me one sign's negative, one sign's positive. The 10 being positive, that tells me that the bigger numbers will be the positive ones, so that means the smaller ones are negative. So that doesn't give me 10. There we go. We got lucky. Got it on the second try. So I write my two binomials. I said, okay, c squared minus 2, c squared plus 12. Remember the c squared is because of the c to the 4th. Now, you cannot just randomly start multiplying by numbers and just for the heck of it. It's kind of like, you got a seesaw. When the seesaw is evenly weighted, it's nice and balanced. But when somebody really heavy gets on there, you kind of gets out of balance, right? That's essentially what you're doing right here. You're multiplying by just a factor, just to one part. You're not multiplying to all of them, right? So you're creating an imbalance. You got to balance that thing back out. So it's easy. I multiplied by 8. Well, how do you undo multiplying? Well, you divide. So I'm going to divide both those terms by, I'm sorry, I said term. Well, that's right. Factors is what I meant to say. By 8. So we go through and we reduce them. So let's see, 2/8, that'll go down to 1/4. 12/8, let's see, 12 and 8, 4 will go into that, so that'll be 3/2. So I have c squared minus 1/4 and c squared plus 3/2. Now, am I done with this is the question. I actually see something here. We can rewrite this one. We can say 2c squared plus 3. And this one right here, I could rewrite as 4c squared minus 1. Now, check this out. Look at this one really close. Minus sign. Let's look at the first term here. Can I take the square root of 4c squared? Sure can I? Can I take the square root of 1? Sure can. So this one, I can actually break down a little further. It can look like this right here. 2c plus 1, 2c minus 1. So your actual final answer would look like this right here. So basically, this 2c squared plus 3, I can just go ahead and I can set it over here with these factors here. If you want to put it before or after, it really don't matter. Remember, you're multiplying. So the actual factored form of this thing is that right there. So what are, let me turn this thing around here. So what are your takeaways from this? When you're factoring a trinomial, first thing you do right out of the gate is you check for a GCF. It doesn't matter if it's 2 terms. It don't matter if it's 530,000 terms. You check that GCF. So you've done that. And you've identified, okay, it's a trinomial. I need to go through and I need to factor either by the X method or by the bottoms up method. So you've gone through and you've done that. You followed all those steps. Before you circle your answer, you need to look at your binomials and say, okay, so these binomials, I see one of them has a degree of 2 or a degree of 4 in there. And there's a minus sign. I need to look, I need to make a mental note to look at that and go, all right, can I take the square root of the first term and get a perfect square? Can I take the square root of the last term and get a perfect square? If that answer is yes, then that means that you can break that down further. Remember that with factoring, you are trying to break the polynomial down as far as you possibly can. Like I said, I alliterate that. I go back to talking about the factoring tree, about how you had like the number like 48, and then you was breaking it down, and then breaking it down again, and you broke it down until you couldn't break it any further. That's exactly what you're doing with these polynomials. It's just looking a heck of a lot cooler. So always, I mean, when you factor these, I mean, be as skeptical, skeptical is a bad word. Be suspicious with everyone and be like asking yourself, is there something I can pull out? Is there something I'm overlooking? You'll know that you're done when you've looked at your final answer and you're like, there is nothing on these final answers right here that I can pull out or I can break down further. That's how you'll know. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, again, bring them to me. I'd be happy to help you. Y'all have a great day or a great afternoon, night, whenever you're viewing this videos. Happy study.